So for those of you who have an interest in advanced vibrational stuff, and again, in my world, the vibrational influence classes are kind of where you enter what I call the mysteries. And it kind of, and the feedback I get is that it makes a lot of these other disciplines make more sense. And that's really my goal, to make this stuff make sense, to make it workable, and to make it practical. Do you need the vibrational influence stuff? No. But for some of you, you're made to do that, and you know who you are, right? But if you can't string an adverb adjective presupposition together, if you can't connect with another human being doing kinesthetic rapport, you got no business in that class. Okay? That's why I have certain classes have to have prereqs. Now, I certify people through the Society of NLP, and they're very, very strict about their standards, and I'm constantly pissing them off. I don't know why, because I'm such an easy person to get along with.
They keep changing the rules.
I do keep changing the rules, but that's a different issue. But the society will let you go into an NLP practitioner cert training with absolutely no experience, nothing, and I have to let you in because of that. I don't recommend it. I taught this shit for free for 10 years before I ever was willing to certify another human being. I know what the methods of training they do produce. I know the skill levels, and I've seen over and over and over again the people who've been through Identity by Design or CPI are head and shoulders above the practitioners who come in with nothing or even prior NLP training. There's something about what we do in Identity by Design, something about how we impart skills, or I don't know what it is. I think it was just like spinning was a download. Something about that process changes you, and it makes you awesome fast. Yes?
So if we wanted to go vibrational influence, going through Identity by Design...
You don't need Identity by Design to go to vibrational influence. You need this class.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the NLP cert because I'm on the topic of courses with prerequisites. And there's really only three actually. CPI 2, 3, 4, you must have either this class or CPI 1 to get in. I recommend Identity by Design if you're going to go into regression, but it's not necessary because it's a very similar curriculum with a different specialization. But NLP class, absolutely recommend. Society says I can't make it a rule, but my recommendation strongly is to have Identity by Design first. So there's a kind of sort of prereq for that. And then the class I do that has prereqs is vibrational influence. And this is the one class that satisfies all the prereqs for it. To get into vibrational influence, you need self-directed trance work, kinesthetic rapport, and state control. Right, now we do state control in every class, but the way we do it, or the depth that we go into. You guys had a full day on state control and rapport yesterday, right? And it was intense, right? Right, and you see why. And think about how many of you failed? Did anybody fail? You mean?
First time.
Right, first time, right? And out of how many times?
Lots.
Oh, how many reps did you do on average last night or yesterday?
I did 2 to 3.
At least 3, 4.
All right, and the vast majority of it, how many have succeeded every time? Raise your hands.
Later on, I succeeded.
All right. How many of you succeeded most of the time? Oh, guess what? That's the worst you'll ever be. First time you learn anything is usually the worst time you're at it, right? You're only getting better. And first day of the first training, doing shit you never did before, most of you were in the 80, 90, 100% range, right? Suck deal. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Right? And most of you, when you didn't succeed, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you didn't follow the instructions. The technology works if you work the technology. If you follow, you don't have to believe it. I'm pretty damn sure most of you didn't believe by holding a toothpick you could keep your fingers from moving apart. You didn't need to believe it. You just needed to do it. Your job as an agent of influence is not to get people to believe you. Your job is to get people to obey you. Because if you take that to its ultimate extreme, if you can get people to obey you and you tell them to believe something, what will they do? Right?
Resistance.
No. If they're compliant and they're obeying, they're not going to resist you, because obedience implies compliance, not resistance, right? Okay.
No, I just thought your explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know.
Hmm? Okay. You're late. Did you bring donuts?
No.
All right. Kit Kat. Good answer. All right. So, yes.
So, what's in CPI 2?
CPI 2. Let me just change this real quick. CPI 2 is what we call weapons of mass instruction. And it's all about the science behind strategic, story, and metaphor. Okay? Most people, and this is true in the NLP world, it's true in the Ericksonian world, when people talk about metaphors, they're almost always talking about therapeutic metaphors. But there's a whole science behind narrative, from the forensics to the psychological to guys like T. Harv Eker who mind-fuck thousands of people in a single shot and have them flooding to the back of the room to throw money at them. And there's also a category of stories called omega stories. Which are based on the idea of omega strategies. Omega strategies are resistance removal strategies. Most people, when they're talking about influence, they're thinking about alpha strategies. Alpha strategies are persuasive amplifiers. So they put more persuasion push in what you're saying, right? Most of what you're doing here, well, actually, you're getting alpha and omega, but you're thinking you're doing mostly alpha. But the omega strategies actually remove resistance to your persuasion. So the same level of persuasion that you're giving is the same, but the resistance to it is like grease in the slide, right? And narrative has the ability to remove resistance to change. It can prime people, and it can serve as a delivery vehicle for every single tactic, linguistic tactic, that you're learning this week. And every culture tells stories, and the minute you start telling stories, hemispheres of the listener and the speaker start to instantly synchronize. Yes?
So when they synchronize, and we have the internal feeling of, or we're creating the internal feeling that's projecting over top of their feelings of confidence, or so we're working at below the level of words, because
we're working beyond words. We're working at levels above and below the whole thing. When you do metaphor, when you do story and metaphor, you instantly induce trance. The minute you hear once upon a time, it's over. Or anything that implies once upon a time. Because of that, it's very easy to embed whatever you want. We'll talk about layering stories within stories. We call that nested loops and how all that works together. 1 second. Yes, Dad. First language pattern that we're working on is going to be echo technique. All right? And your question was?
Oh, just so using stories, if you really want to do a lot of change work within yourself, if you were to use those omega.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you would do is you would actually re-script the story of your life and tell it to yourself. There's actually some courses out there on using your life as a metaphor, or your life as a story. But first language pattern we're going to work with is the one that you know the most famously, and that's the echo technique. Remember that the echo technique is the backdoor to hacking the human nervous system, right? If there was one pattern that goes right, awareness will do it too, but echo technique is one that does some really cool shit. It just primes the person to just keep talking. And the longer they're talking, the more connected to you they become. Okay? We talked about criterion values. There's two ways you can elicit criterion values. You can elicit criterion values by directly asking for it, or you can indirectly influence criterion values by using the echo technique. Because as a person is speaking, their speech is context dependent, and therefore it wells up from their primal drives to their emotional drives to their values to their beliefs till it becomes words, and then it comes out. So when they hear those words coming back, it's massaging all of that. They're checking off a little box in their list, and it signals sameness. And what will happen, and most of you who've done the echo technique know this, when you use the echo technique, they focus on you. You become the most fascinating person in the room. True or not true? Right? Every time I do it, I look at that shit and I say, that shouldn't work. And it does, over and over and over again. My good friend James hates the echo technique. Yeah, he hates it, because it's too easy. NLP people like complicated shit. That's how they know it's advanced. Because it takes a lot of finesse to do, and you can only use it in specific contexts. That's what makes it advanced. No. What makes shouldn't an advanced technique make your life easier? Nobody's using a cell phone from the 80s. Doesn't make your life easier, does it? Right? So that's my approach. To me, an advanced technique is one that has the greatest scope of influence and is the easiest to use. Right? Yes, Dan. You never actually seen the echo technique? No? Okay, so is it exactly verbatim? Yeah. You could. But if you switch out a word or two, sometimes that kind of deviates you from the course. Don't feel bad. Everybody gets it. What did you feel? Before you realized I was doing it, how did you feel about me? Yeah. So I'm not going to answer anymore. Right? Echo technique, when people get their words back to them, they say, oh yeah, he gets it. He understands what I'm talking about. Regardless of how superficial or in-depth the conversation is, you say, you want to keep talking? Right? It primes them to want to keep talking. And because it primes you to want to keep talking, the burden of conversation moves from me to you because you just want to tell me more. And as you tell me more, and I get it back, it gets validation. And then that validation is something you want to hold on to, and it just keeps spiraling and building like that. And then from within that context of your words, I can maneuver and navigate in any direction I want. Yes, exactly. Verbatim, and you can add a little bit. Yes.
listen enough to the metadata,
Metadata.
well, when you're echoing.
You're using jargon that people aren't going to understand.
When you're echoing for long enough, will they come out with the exact their value? Will it emerge?
Sometimes when you echo them long enough, they will come out with the exact value, but a lot of times they will infer it. But you're massaging it anyway. Yeah. And that's what I mean, is you can go for somebody's values directly or indirectly. Either way will generate rapport. But many times, especially in the cases where, not all the time, you can sometimes, like one time James C2 told me he called up Cameron Cleveland, because that's what James does. He doesn't just read he just calls the person up and asks them a question, whether he knows them or not, because that's what he does for a living. He's good at getting around gatekeepers. And so he asked Kenrick, he says, can you just, I forget exactly what the question was. He asked something about, is it always important to go for the criteria, do you need to wait to go for the criteria? Or something like that. And Kenrick goes, what's important about going for the criteria right away? Right? Because you can, right? You know, when you see me do that example of the echo technique on my webinars, and I've been using it in my training for years. I had a martial arts school in Coral Springs, Florida for many years. And one of the ways that I would get people to sign up for introductory lessons or whatever, they would call up and say, good afternoon, Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? Hi, David. My name's Brenda, and I'm looking for karate lessons for my 10-year-old son, Josh. Oh, hey, Brenda. So you're looking for karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Yeah! You'd be amazed. Yeah, he gets it. Right? Excellent. Well, tell me I'm curious, just so I understand you better. What's important to you about 10-year-old, for karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Well, David, you know, Josh is a great kid. He's really smart. In fact, he's so smart that, you know, they moved him up a grade in his school. I mean, he's kind of small compared to the kids in that grade. And I'm afraid that maybe, you know, the kids might pick on him, and I want to be able to protect himself. And I heard martial arts is good for focus and concentration and self-confidence, and I think that would be really good for Josh. Oh, I see. So Josh is a really sweet kid, but he's smart. He got moved up a grade, huh? And you're afraid that because he's a little smaller than the kids, he might get picked on? Yeah. And you're absolutely right, Brenda. Martial arts is fantastic for focus and concentration and confidence. And we have a class that's perfectly designed for Josh. It's designed to help people who are smaller defend themselves against larger attackers. It's designed to help them install focus and concentration and give them the confidence that they really need to move forward in life and to take charge of the situation. We have an introductory program with 2 private lessons and a group class. It comes with a free uniform. I have a slot available today at 5:30, or would maybe tomorrow at 6 be better for you? Well, let me think. You know, maybe tomorrow at 6, because then I can take him I can pick him up and he can have dinner and I can take him over. Great, I'll take some information to you and we'll see you and Josh in here and get you started on getting that confidence and that skill and that focus just as soon as possible. Is that okay? Yeah, great. Thanks, David. Bye. 8 out of 10 show up. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, right? I have, what's my closing rate, TJ, on my consultations? Right?
What's that?
The closing, when a person comes in to apply to become one of my clients?
Enough to make other people jealous.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Not enough to make other people jealous, right? If you apply the technology works.
Try and get caught.
Try and get caught, right? So echo technique, and again, that's 10 minute conversation, and in the space of 5 or 10 minutes, I've gotten her values, I've gotten her echo technique, I've gotten her convinced I know exactly what she needs, and then I can deliver it. Okay? Don't believe me, just do it. Take your time, have fun with it, right? Echo, 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 okay? So we're gonna do that scenario. Now it's gonna be someone calling you for your product or service, so you're gonna have to do role plays with this. And all you're gonna do is agree, echo, repeat back, link to your product or service, and get it, and don't be a blowdown necessarily. If there's an actual objection or an actual question you as a customer might have, ask it. Echo it, agree with it, echo it, answer the question using their words, move on, right? And I just want you to get used to that idea of echoing and feeding back, okay? I want it to become for you your default method of talking to people.